Hello there, and welcome. My name is Alexander, and you're listening to Another Realization. Many people often say that in order to be effective at bringing about any change and getting our freedom back, we need to be politically active and fight the system from the inside, instead of being a book club that makes media. Now, political activism can only mean petitioning, voting, lobbying, campaigning, running for office, and protesting. And none of the above can ever give people freedom. Allow me to clarify. How does the system take away your freedom? By politicians writing something down on a piece of parchment, and by doing all these political rituals, and declaring that the politicians now have the right to take away your freedom. And that is ridiculous. No vote or scribble on a piece of parchment can give anybody the right to infringe on people's freedom and commit aggression. It is dogmatic. It is pseudo-religious. So the solution to that is to get some other guy in the office, tick a box next to his name and get him to scribble on a piece of paper that we should be free to do things that we would normally have the right to do anyway. And in doing so, legitimizing that very same dogmatic practice that took away your freedom to begin with. No thank you. No politician or scribble on a piece of parchment can grant me the right to be free. The problem and the solution do not lie in Washington DC or The Hague. The problem and the solution sit between the ears of billions of people who believe that such political rituals can grant politicians the right to rule and control them, and take their money without their consent. If I would write down on a piece of parchment that I had the right to rob my own neighbor, and told him that I now have the right to steal his money because I called it taxation instead of theft, he would think that I'm insane. And in either way, if I now tell my neighbor, hey, I've got good news for you. I wrote down on a piece of paper that you now have the right to spend your own money, that you have the right to do whatever you want with your own house, that you can decide what you do with your own body. You know what he would say? He'd say, can we get this guy to a mental asylum already? What is he thinking telling me what I can or cannot do by writing it down on a stupid piece of paper? And that's exactly how people would look at all the politicians trying to control and rob them, if they saw the inherent illegitimacy behind a ridiculous reason for why they have the supposed right to do so. And when only a fraction of an entire population stops paying tribute to the ruling class will have no power to do anything about it. Imagine 10% of the US. That's over 30 million people. There is no way they're going to be able to arrest and prosecute that many people, especially not when the rest of the populace is quickly going to follow suit. Politicians and dogmatic rituals don't matter in the slightest. Ideas matter. What people think matters, and that's what's going to preserve liberty. If people don't understand why they should be free, and instead look to the governments for their freedom, and work endlessly to get someone in there that will grant them freedom, then they will never be free. Because they're not even free inside their own heads. They are a bunch of slaves trying to find a slave master that will allow them to be free, instead of understanding that nobody has the right to decide how free they can or cannot be, and that they don't have any obligation to obey a master. People are free regardless of who is sitting in Washington DC or The Hague, and regardless of what pseudo-religious rituals they performed. And that is why I am sitting here doing podcasts. Because I have principles and I'm not going to use or take part in the same illegitimate system that I'm trying to get rid of. I am here trying to free people's minds from the insane idea that they're beholden to an authority that gets to do things to them without their consent. Freeing people's minds from the idea that their consent doesn't matter, and that someone else gets to make decisions for them using threats of violence. Freeing people's minds from the idea that some people can have an exemption from morality. That some people can have the right to use violence and coercion because they wrote things on a piece of paper, did some pseudo-religious rituals, and changed the words around. freeing people's minds from the idea that by nature they are too malicious, stupid, and selfish to rule their own lives and make their own decisions, and that instead we should give a bunch of other human beings that are inherently malicious, stupid, and selfish the right to rule everyone's life and make decisions for them, and that they should have the right to use violence against anyone who disobeys them. Brilliant idea. I don't know how somebody could logically come up with that. So no, participating in the same exact system that entertains the idea that human beings need permission of a bunch of politicians or need to scribble something on a piece of paper in order to be free doesn't help that endeavor in the slightest. It actually legitimizes the idea that their freedom is dependent on the very same political rituals that remove their freedom in the first place. The right to be free doesn't come from human beings, or any right for that matter, or from scribbles on pieces of parchment, but is inherent to your very existence as a sovereign being. You are free no matter who's in Washington DC or The Hague, and what they wrote down on a piece of paper. The only power they have is the power that people imagine them to have, and once people stop imagining it, it's all over for them. The choice is binary. Either you own yourself and don't need anybody's permission to be free, or someone else owns you, and they decide how free you can be. Now which one are you? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.